China and the United States are locked in a high-stakes competition, where any wrong move, any miscalculation could lead to war. It's a game of strategy, of chess. It's played out on the sea, in the air, and across whole nations. It's about power, prestige, and military domination. And at the centre of it all are these islands. After the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the US turned its attention to a growing economic power, China. The US wanted to contain China in these waters and protect its own interests. The problem, the US is some 11,000 kilometres away. The solution? The island chain strategy. The man behind it was John Foster Dulles. This was his plan to contain communism in the 1950s. And this is how it works. US influence extends across the region, with its own naval bases, access to other countries' facilities, and troops stationed all around here, together making chains of military power on US-friendly islands. And these islands are on China's doorstep. The US aims to deter and counter China's growing assertiveness in the region. China says this is its own backyard, and it should be free to operate here. Either way, the first island chain stretches from Japan through Taiwan and the Philippines to the Malay Peninsula. This line of defence is designed to stop China's military from expanding into the Pacific. It gives the US a lot of power. It can block China's trade routes and confront its navy. The first chain is also important because in the middle of it is Taiwan. It's so vital to the US strategy here, it's been called an unsinkable aircraft carrier. China wants to unify Taiwan with the mainland. They've had different governments since the Civil War in 1949. Under the One China principle, Beijing claims the self-governed island as its own territory. Officially, the US acknowledges China's position that Taiwan is part of China. But lately, US President Joe Biden has been sending mixed messages.
If China were to act unilaterally, there would be a response. This
is a major point of tension between the US and China. If China took control of Taiwan, it would break a link in the chain of US military power in the region. And this chain is crucial to Taiwan's defence. It stops China from becoming the dominant military force and sends a clear message that the US could challenge it in the Indo-Pacific. Now let's look at the second island chain, and especially the island of Guam. It's a vital link for US power in the region and a key target for enemy strikes. That's because the US has a major base here and thousands of troops. Now let's move to the third island chain. It runs through the Pacific down to New Zealand. And these islands may look like a speck on a map, but look closer. They cover millions of square miles of ocean and are right between the US, China and Australia. The vast Pacific Ocean and these islands are crucial for the security of international shipping routes. But from China's perspective, all of this is a major threat.
History has proved time and again, the confrontation does not solve problems. It only invites catastrophic consequences.
These island chains make it feel contained and hemmed in. So it's been busy with its own strategy. Since its failed attempt to take Taiwan in the 50s, China has been modernising its military and building up its navy. It now has the largest number of warships in the world, with hypersonic missile technology and a ballistic missile capable of striking US military bases on Guam. It's been dubbed the Guam Killer. There's also a new generation of aircraft carriers. The most advanced recently set sail. Its name is Fujian. It's a vital part of China's military strategy and has an advanced catapult that can launch larger and heavier aircraft than older models. At 80,000 tons, only the US has bigger aircraft carriers than this. The US also has another advantage, power. US aircraft carriers are nuclear powered. The Fujian relies on fuel, so it needs to resupply more often. Rival militaries, coast guards and fishing vessels are competing and coming to blows in the South China Sea. China claims 90% of the sea as its own.
Well, the Chinese are now deploying water cannons.
But its neighbours and an international court disagree. There's also growing tension in the Taiwan Strait. China's military recently surrounded the island, simulating a blockade and takeover, all designed to warn the region that here, China is the military powerhouse. Watching on is Japan, South Korea and Taiwan. They are all arming up. The Philippines is fortifying the islands and rocky outcrops it controls. The US is strengthening regional alliances and has access to more bases. It can offer military support to other countries to win access, but it faces fierce competition from China, which can offer money and investment to Pacific countries to gain leverage. The Indo-Pacific has always been a battleground for geopolitical rivalry. For China to become the dominant power in Asia, it has to break the first island chain and take control of Taiwan. This would give it control of major shipping routes. The US is standing in the way, pressure is growing, and the risk of confrontation is high. The ultimate goal, which is to control the Indo-Pacific, is a prize so great that neither the US or China is backing down.